piece in the back of the book, really, the blurb, if you like.
Yeah.
Could you tell us just how you got to know about the story? I'll come in a bit closer so we can hear you.
Yeah. Right, Paul, I like the word blurb. A lot of folks have accused me of using that quite regularly, but in actual fact, I had known about Joanne really pretty well all of her life. Initially as a wee local celebrity, because the Lennox Herald often featured her as she and her parents were fundraising for liver disease. And so she was all in the paper, and I knew her remotely, if you like. Then later on there was a gap in her school years. Now and again I saw this wee lassie outside our house in Glebe Garden. She obviously had some friends over there, and the one thing that attracted to me is she was always smiling. And so eventually I said to somebody, "Who's the wee lassie with a smile?" And the answer was Joanne Brannigan. So that kind of brought me into her life very remotely. She probably didn't know who I was or how I existed. But then I got involved with Margo and her when they kind of adopted me as their minister. And one of the great things about the book is that they pay great tribute to Reverend Bill McFarlane, who used to be the minister in Alexandria. Bill was your ideal minister. He was the epitome of everything a minister should be and what I'm not. He looked classy. He was a professional. But it's just great to hear the stories about Bill and how human and how supportive he was. So I became involved, and really she just was something special.
Okay. And you've obviously read the book now that Margo's written it. What do you think people might take away from the book? It's about Joanne's life story in a way, but it's more than that really. What do you think? You might take away?
I think firstly the uniqueness of this lassie, because she was unique. She had her passions. She was passionate about things, and in a sense, she's facing a crisis of life, and yet her concern so often was about other people, helping other people, animals. I think she would get Margo to adopt a whole menagerie, you know, and she was humorous. She had this great sense of wit and live life to the full. So that attracted me to her as a person, and that's what I expected to see in the book. And sure enough, it was reflected in the book. I think as well, I've discovered, I didn't know this, she was a lassie of opinions, you know, strong opinions, and yeah, I should have known that, you know. And it was fascinating to read that she wasn't very happy about independence. So she and I probably would have a disagreement about that, but I think I would have to concede defeat before it started, because that was just the nature of the girl. She was inspiring. I tell you, as you read the book, what do you come away with? I think humility is the first thing, because here's a lassie that faced all sorts of problems. It never seemed to get her down. She always had a smile, so you come away thinking a bit in awe of her, and hopefully makes you a better person, and makes you think of all the times that you complain about the stupid wee things and you vow never to do it again. Of course you do. What else? I mean, I read the book on a cruise, Paul, and I reckon a lot of folks passing me by would wonder how sometimes I'll be laughing and other times I would be greeting. But that's what the book's going to do to you. You're going to laugh, you're going to cry. So always have a tissues beside you, because you'll need it. I think the other thing that you come away with is that you feel in awe of Joanne. That's absolutely right, because she's been an incredible lass. But I think as well you feel a wee bit in awe of her mother Margo, because this is really a celebration of two quite unique and exceptional human beings.
It is. Thanks, Ian. I'm going to have a wee chat with Margo, the author of the book, and of course mum of Joanne. Margo, I've been involved in quite a few autobiographies over the years, but this, I guess, is a biography about Joanne, but there's also a massive part of your own life invested in this too. How would you describe the book to somebody who didn't maybe know the story as well as Ian? How would you describe the book?
I think originally I wrote the book just about memories that were just going round and round in my head and floating about, and it was a bit, memories of Joanne growing up from she was really, really young, and how she coped with everything that was thrown at her, basically. Nothing seemed to faze her. She inspired me. She helped me to cope with her illnesses, because she coped so well. And everything that happened to her throughout her years, she just got on with it. She never looked back. She never spoke about it again. If it was a big or a small operation she was in hospital for or whatever, she just got up and got out and got on with life. And that was basically the way she lived her life. And
it seems to have this quite unusual determination. Really.
Absolutely determination. That's all you could put it down to. She was never going to be held back, and I think it wasn't until she got to a certain age. Obviously, any mum wants to shield their children. They don't want them to be worried about anything. They don't want them to think about the problems that they're facing. So you kind of make light of things. And that's what we did for a long, long time. But there came a time when Joanne realised that, she wasn't the same as anyone else. I think growing up she thought she was, but she realised that, she had a lot of problems, and it was an odd experience to see your child grow into an adult, even at a very early age, and take on board what was happening to her. And I think that's when she decided she was going to live her life, and she knew what she wanted, and she knew how she was going to achieve it. So it was basically ignoring the bad points as much as she could and getting on with living.
And when, I guess, did you kind of feel you wanted to put this down to pen and paper, if you like? Kind of write the story down. Did that sort of take a wee while before you felt like that?
It took a long time, yeah. I think originally it was a comment at Joanne's when Ian was in the house, actually, and it was when we were with the family, we were arranging her funeral, and my brother, as a casual comment, says you could write a book about Joanne, and we had a wee talk about it, but it never really took off, then, and it took me a couple of years, obviously, like any mother that loses a child will know, it's really, really hard. It's the hardest thing anybody could ever go through, and you've got every day you've got memories going round and round in your head, and I just thought after a while I should start writing them down, and then I met Ian again, funnily enough, in the supermarket, and we had the conversation about what we'd said before about writing a book, and it took off. Then that gave me the inspiration to do it, to start doing it.
And did it help you think, to do that a wee bit?
Well, I mean, at first, I didn't know whether it was going to be a couple of paragraphs or a couple of pages, or whether it was going to end up as a book. I just started writing things down. But it's hard to say if it helps. It was certainly cheap therapy, at the time. But I still cry. And I might be worse if I hadn't written it all down. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think it'll help others a wee bit as well? Because there must be other people going through similar type things.
Well, I absolutely hope it does, because that was one of my main reasons for doing it, and I know it's one of the things that Joanne would definitely have wanted to do, was, try and encourage people to be strong and hopeful and always think, there's better days ahead, and that's the way she lived.
Joanne herself was very determined, as I said already, but there was a lot of professional, brilliant people behind or trying to get her better as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess it's maybe a kind of nod to them a bit as well, the book, in some
absolutely.
ways.
The NHS service in this country is amazing for people like her. The people at that level are amazing people. They don't think twice about wanting to help people, and it seems as though money's no object, although obviously it is, but it's another world. It is another world. They're amazing people.
We're actually in Christie Park today, and you were just telling me earlier on that you've got memories of Joanne even just behind us here at the wee bit, where quite a lot of people stand to get their wedding pictures taken and stuff. I mean, the park plays a big bit in the book as well. I guess for me, if I've got to sum up the book, really having read it, it's one of the most moving books I've ever read. But it's also a kind of joyous book as well. You know, it's like, and that comes from the joyful spirit, I guess, that was Joanne herself.
Yes, absolutely.
Always planning and always pushing ahead no matter what.
And I don't think I wrote enough about her sense of humour, because I didn't, you know, I was a mum, so I didn't get to see it as much as when she was out. She was absolutely full of life, she was full of fun. And I don't know many people have said to me, I'm not on Facebook myself, but have said to me that they loved reading what she wrote because she was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, that's the way she was.
Her personality does come across, I think, in the book as well. You know,
Yeah.
it was nice. I mean, I think there's been a strange little episode today, because we usually have a book launch, but we're all kind of distanced, and it's just funny times just now.
Yeah.
I want to thank yourself, Margo, for coming out today. And it almost rained on us. And to Ian Miller as well, who's across here manning a camera. Thanks, Ian, for coming along and being part of this today as well, because you've been a big advocate of Margo and the book itself. So again, thanks for doing that. Is there any kind of final things you want to say yourself? Or?
Yeah, I think I would, if you can give me that thing back again. And if either we use this or don't use it, but it's actually from the order of service for Joanne's funeral.
Yep.
And, you know, why should I keep it? I don't keep these things, and yet I've kept this one, and I think that maybe is an indication of how, in some ways, she was special. There's two wee poems in them, and I thought it's just Joanne. And the first one says, "No, how did she die, but how did she live? Now what did she gain, but what did she give? Not what was her church, nor what was her creed, but had she befriended those really in need? Was she ever ready with a word of good cheer to bring back a smile or banish a tear? Not what did the words in the newspaper say, but how many were sorry when she passed away. These are the units to measure the worth of a man or a woman, regardless of birth." And that, to my mind, just summed up Joanne. But also, there was another wee verse which said, "There are things that we don't want to happen, but we have to accept. There are things we don't want to know, but we have to learn. There are people we can't live without, but have to let go." And sadly, I think for Margo, these words really apply, and I'm over the moon that she had the courage and the grace to write this book. I believe it's inspirational.
I do so as well, and I think the book actually has got a wider audience than just local people in the Villa Leaving in Alexandria.
Indeed.
There's people have read it, you know, from all over the world really, and it touches them.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the Vale, it's a very human story.
Exactly.
And thanks very much again for coming along. And thanks to the weather, Ian, you've managed to have a word with somebody in the Vale. They've kept it good for us. So yeah, we'll leave it there, but thanks again.
Thank you.
That was one of my main reasons for doing it, and I know it's one of the things that Joanne would definitely have wanted to do, was, you know, try and encourage people to be strong and hopeful and always think, you know, there's better days ahead, and that's the way she lived.